Hi everybody, and welcome back to Kevin's Upfront Opinion. And today I thought I'd speak about what it's like to have a breakdown. Now, recently, actually 2 weeks today, as in this morning, I suffered a breakdown. Okay, and it's the first time I'd ever experienced one. And I'm going to go into what the triggers were for me. But to be honest, didn't even really, just thought it was a bit low, to be honest. And it was a bit odd because the only time I'd had experience with it was when my mother had a nervous breakdown many years ago. I was a teenager, and I remember my sister being at home and the doctor coming out to see my mum. Be giving her some medication to cheer her up because, to be honest, my mum's a miserable cow at the best of times anyway. I know I shouldn't say that about my own mother, but I am going to say it because she is. And you know, I'm one of them people that's guilty as sin for saying people that have suffered with mental health issues are just weak and soft and need to toughen up. And me personally, I've always been pretty strong. Managed to deal with most things. Loss of a child, break up relationships, breakdown of marriage, which is my fault anyway. Loss of family members, all those types of things. Managed to deal with it with my head held high. And not cried about it, not complained about it, just carried on and moved on. Now, in some respects, when I dealt with those things, and like a lot of men did do, or do, okay, I just buried it. Never spoke about it, never complained about it, just buried it, never spoke about it, and just put it to the back of my mind, and as the old expression would go, bury it into the tip of your belly at the end of the day, which doesn't resolve anything. So when it happened to me, there were 3 causes, and it was 3 things that were going on but all met at the same time. So none of these people I personally blame for it. For me, it was circumstances that all met at the same time. And it was like, as the old expression in fishing goes, it was a perfect storm. So a lot of people are going to say, so what happened? And this is what happened. First of all, I had been having a dispute with my wife in regards to my stepdaughter for about 18 months. And at the time, or at one stage, I was actually on the verge of walking out because I'd had enough. Because I was being made out to be the bad guy. And because of what it was about, and I'm not about to say what it was about because it's wrong, because I know my wife trolls me on social media, and so does my stepdaughter's husband watches my videos, so I'm not going to go into what it was about or anything. And I struggled to deal with it and handle it, and I dealt with it very badly. So that was the first thing. The second thing was something. Now, when it comes to the second thing, this is going to make me sound really bad because it's something that I caused. Because one of the things that's haunted me all my life was losing contact with my ex-girlfriend. and my daughter. And I've never seen my daughter. And I made a big move to try and track her down quickly. And then approximately 3 to 4 days before I had my breakdown, I spoke to my ex-girlfriend. I got a message as well from my daughter. And I was absolutely surprised. I was flabbergasted to actually get either message. And I spoke to my ex-girlfriend for probably an hour and 40. About an hour and 40 minutes I think I spoke to her. And it was really good to speak to her because I don't hold any grievances against her. I once did, but I don't anymore because I had to let it all go because I was destroying my own life because of it. And I do hope that she is happy nowadays, and I'm sure she is. But when I spoke to her, and I remember that night, I got an hour and a half sleep, and over the next few days I probably got about 4 to 5 hours sleep. So I wasn't sleeping or anything. So I had about 4 to 5 hours sleep, and I just had a flood of memories coming back to me, things that I'd completely forgotten, and they just all whooshed back to me. And the third and final thing that created the perfect storm was business problems to do with accounts and everything like that, which obviously I've been trying to deal with. Now, it's not a case I'm going bankrupt or anything, far from that, but you know, accounts which are currently late, and hopefully they will be in pretty damn soon. Stop company house moaning at me or anything. So been trying to deal with that. Now, because of that, I was sat down on the beach and I just started crying for no reason. Just started crying, and I started crying for only 2 reasons. And for somebody like me, that's extremely embarrassing to admit when you start crying. And I know a lot of women out there are going to say, oh, there's nothing to be ashamed of to cry or anything. But for me, I felt different because I'm the person that didn't even cry at my grandfather's funeral. Never really cried in my entire life. Maybe that's because I don't have much in the way of emotion or anything like that. And it was 2 reasons why I started to cry. And this is what I don't really want to be admitting to. So it was these 2 things, and I really don't want to admit to these, in case these 2 people are listening to this video. God. So, what made me start crying? Number 1, and the main one, was every time I thought about my daughter. And that was my firstborn child. And the main reason was, it was coming to the realisation how much I'd let her down in her life. I mean, seriously let her down. And the other person was my stepdaughter, and the same thing really went for her as well. You know, the guilt and everything of when I should have been there for them more, and that goes for both of them. Now obviously the argument is that I've been there way more for my stepdaughter than I have for my own daughter. That's no excuse, not in my book. And maybe I shouldn't hold myself to such a high regard and such a high level at the end of the day, but I couldn't help it. I felt so shitty about it. I just kept on crying. And the only person that actually knew about it was my actual wife. She was the only person that knew what had happened. And it originally started at home, took the kids to school, and I could just feel myself keep on weeping. I just kept on telling her that's just hay fever, and she knew it wasn't. And I had to leave her at the school because the kids hadn't even gone in. I said I was going down to the beach, and that's when I really started to cry. And I wish to say that it was a high pollen count that day, but that would be BS at the end of the day. So I went home, and my wife found out what happened, and she made me go and see the doctor. And I ended up getting put on, like I said, antidepressants. And a friend of mine, who actually happens to work at the job centre, said to me, why don't you just start talking about it? Why don't you start making videos as you're used to talking into a camera about the mistakes that you've made during your life, and maybe you have yourself, and maybe you have a few other people along the line as well, which is what a lot of this is about. Because at the end of the day, I've got to come to terms with what I've done and the mistakes I've made, and some of the mistakes I doubt I'll ever be able to fix. I like to think that I will be able to, but I doubt that I ever will be able to. And a lot of that is self-denial, believing that you can fix the errors of your way at the end of the day. So what's it actually like actually breaking down? To be honest, I actually felt normal, to be honest. And maybe that's the case, I'm kidding myself. The only way I felt differently, was that I kept on crying, because I don't like letting anybody down, especially my children. When it comes to me, they mean everything. They're the most important thing. I put them before myself. I'm the person that used to work over 100 hours a week to make sure my kids had everything and my wife had everything that they needed. And I know that people are going to be able to throw it at me and say, what about your other child? And that's when guilt comes into my book, of how I've let her down. And will I ever be able to make that up? And that is a question I do not know the answer to. So as things stand, I am trying to sort myself out and trying to improve myself. But it's going to be a long road back, because it's 16 years of mistakes, and they're not small mistakes. They're catastrophic mistakes where I've hurt a lot of people. So time will tell, because as the old saying goes, time is the biggest healer. I don't personally believe that, but that's what they do say. So we will see what does happen. But for now, thanks for watching. If you have been through the same kind of thing, let us know in the comments down below what happened to you. And obviously, if you are new to the channel, if you could please subscribe or follow, I would appreciate that as well. But for now, thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you all again a bit later.